Are you bored, anxious, or stressed out learning Chinese? Well, I'm going to show you exactly how to make learning this language actually fun. But here's the thing, there are two types of fun in language learning. One will make you fluent in Chinese, the other will waste years of your life while giving you the illusion of progress. So I'm going to show you exactly which techniques give you the right kind of fun, and I'll prove it to you using science, real results, and a framework borrowed from one of the most successful games ever created. So if you want the complete system that will get you literate and fluent in Chinese step by step in a really fun way, get our free course and community in the description below. So the first type of fun is what apps like Duolingo give you. They are designed with addiction mechanics. People get 500-day streaks who can't order food in Chinese. This type of learning is cheap dopamine fun. The second type of fun is the expensive dopamine fun, a deep satisfaction that comes from overcoming real challenges and seeing real results fast. Like, for example, when you can perfectly recall how to read, write, and pronounce a Chinese character you learned, or you understand a Chinese sentence without looking at the English or the Pinyin translation for the first time, or you suddenly hear yourself speaking with great pronunciation, or you watch a Chinese TV show and you understand what's happening, or you have your first short conversation with a Chinese person. This type of fun gives you powerful feelings of satisfaction, accomplishment, and a natural high because you worked for it. Cheap or free fun, on the other hand, is low effort, low results. The Chinese learners who ignore this waste years making minimal progress, while the ones who embrace it reach fluency much faster. So what kind of learner are you? And which one would you like to be? So before I show you the best techniques that give you genuine fun in the short and long term, let's talk about one of the most successful games ever created, Magic the Gathering. Now you might be wondering what a card game has to do with learning Chinese. So Magic generates over $1 billion annually because they cracked the code on human motivation. They discovered there are three types of players, each one motivated completely differently. First are the spikes. This type of learner wants the most effective techniques to achieve mastery fastest. They don't care if something looks boring on paper. If it works, they'll do it. Spikes want to master 1,000 characters in 30 days, or pass the HSK 6 in a quarter of the average time, or speak fluently in 12 months. They are the speed runners of language learning. Now, second are the Timmies, or the Tammies if you're a lady. They are motivated by enjoyment and life experiences. They want to watch Chinese dramas, read Chinese novels, and have meaningful conversations with Chinese friends. Last are the Johnnies, or the Jennies, who love optimizing and analyzing everything. They create spreadsheets to track their progress, experiment with and improve upon different methods, and they want to understand the science behind why something works. Everyone has elements of all three of these, right? But you'll more strongly identify with one. But the problem is that many people try to force themselves to approach learning methods in a way that doesn't match their personality. So for example, a spike trying to learn through just passively watching TV shows or chatting randomly with native speakers will get very frustrated due to slow, relatively imperceptible progress. A Timmy forced into pure efficiency will burn out. A Johnny without a system will lose motivation. So why does all this matter? Well, because once you know your type, you can approach the methods I'll lay out for you today in a way that's most fun for you. So what are these techniques that give you expensive, genuine fun in the language? Here are the ones that actually make you fluent and are so fun, they'll even make you addicted to the learning process. But real quick, before I do, I just want to share what not to do, like the ultimate fun killers in language learning. So the worst thing you can do is rote memorization, such as writing characters 100 times, repeating vocabulary lists, or just drilling flashcards without really thinking. Basically, learning without foundational understanding and without connecting to the new information in any interesting way. This is not just boring, it's scientifically ineffective. Your brain learns through connections. Rote memorization creates no connections. So here's what actually works. First, the Hanzi movie method. So instead of writing characters over and over again, you create mental movies in your mind, in your imagination. So let's take a character like dry in Chinese, gan. You first associate real life objects in your imagination with the two components that we have here. So one is the horizontal line, the other is a cross shape. So we imagine a giant crucifix and let's say a cigar. Now, a G actor will be associated with the G sound, the G, and the AN, the final, if you like, of the pinyin pronunciation, will be associated with a building from your life, whether it's a workplace, a shop, or a house that you know well. And the room within that building will represent the tone. So imagine you're standing outside your childhood home, for example, with Gandalf in front of you, and he's going to interact with the cigar and the crucifix to create dry. So he, for example, uses the big cigar as a magic wand, and he magically drives the crucifix into the ground, and then he jumps on top of the crucifix while holding the cigar, and he takes a big puff out of it, standing on top. And as he drives it into the ground further, it turns the whole driveway into a desert, a very, very hot desert, which you can feel the warmth of. And it makes everything very dry. Gandalf maybe even starts clutching his throat as he needs a drink because he's so thirsty. I know it sounds crazy, but this technique is not only incredibly effective for memorizing how to read, write, and pronounce the Chinese tone of any character, but it's also super fun because it hits multiple pleasure centers. You're getting creative satisfaction from shooting this movie in your mind. You're getting problem-solving dopamine for successfully creating a movie. You're getting mastery satisfaction because when you recall this character later perfectly, you'll realize that it's working, and that makes you feel good. And of course, it's also multi-sensory. It can be really funny doing these. And also, you're getting the chance to potentially even connect with past people from your life or childhood memories. Now, if you're a spike, you want to get through this as soon as possible. You'll make these movie scenes as simple as you possibly can, taking just a few seconds to make each scene. That'll make it fun for you because you can literally learn up to 100 characters a day using this technique. Many of our members have done this, or at least like 50 or so, no problem. Now, if you're more of an adventurer like a Timmy or a Tammy, then enjoy connecting to your loved ones and friends, maybe even celebrities that you know or like, and reconnecting with old places from your childhood, as well as creating really vivid, interesting scenes. Now, problem with the Timmys and Tammys, though, is that you often spend too long making unnecessarily detailed scenes and wasting time, so be careful with that. Now, if you're more of a Johnny, you might be the analytical type, right? So you'll find it more fun to choose all 56 of your actors, that's how many there are in total, and all 13 of your sets, your buildings, and write them all down first. Maybe print it out and laminate it so that you can refer to them later as you go. Also, do what one of our members, Alison, did and create a Hanzi tracker to track every single character that you learn. You can also get access to this when you sign up for Mandarin Blueprint Pro, our full paid program. So that's the Hanzi movie method. It's an absolute blast. Give it a shot. Now, the second technique that's not only going to make learning Chinese way easier and faster, but also way more fun is called living links, which is our term for mnemonic association. So with this technique, you connect new Chinese words to words you know already. Visualize that connection and spice it up with senses and emotions. So let's take this word 理解, for example. 理解 means to understand something, sort of in an empathetic way. 理 means logic, and 解 means sort of untie. So you logically understand something and sort of untie the mystery of it. There's a sort of built-in mnemonic, if you like. In case you didn't know the characters or you didn't want to use them, you just do it based on the sounds. Like Bruce Lee, 理, and 解 also is another character meaning sister in Chinese. It's also pronounced 姐. So I'd imagine my older sister having an empathetic chat with Bruce Lee, unraveling the mysteries of the world, understanding each other. 姐 also sounds kind of like Jerry. So I can imagine Tom and Jerry, you know, the mouse from Tom and Jerry, talking with Bruce Lee, having a real deep conversation as well. What about this word, 感觉? 感觉, 感 means feel, 觉 means kind of also feel, and it means feel, right? So that's a kind of built-in mnemonic as well, I guess, but it's not very interesting, so you want to spice it up. So 感觉 means to feel, 感 means dry, right? 感 sounds like 感. It's a different tone, but we can still use that. So if you know that dry character, you can just imagine dry jewels. So maybe I imagine like a blind jeweler sort of feeling these jewels, and he realizes they're fake, and he crushes it into like sand, and that's like dry jewels, 感觉. Or how about less abstract word like 汽车, which means car. So 汽 sounds like cheese, so cheese car. Imagine a car made of cheese. There you go. So the more vivid and multisensory and absurd these connections, these associations are, the stronger your memory of them will be, and the more fun it is to create as well. And again, if you're a spike, keep these as simple yet vivid as possible, and see how many you can learn in an hour. Now, the third technique I want to share with you to make Mandarin fun is spaced repetition. This is great for spikes and Johnnies. So flashcards powered by an algorithm that only shows you what you're about to forget and ignores everything else. So here's where most people go wrong with flashcards. They make them super boring by creating like 10,000 flashcards and spending 4 hours a day reviewing them. That's not fun. That's torture for most people. Here's the right way. Only use spaced repetition for the top 3,000 characters, which covers 99.4% of Chinese and high-frequency individual words, and around 1,000 words or so. Add native audio and example sentences on the back of the word cards. And there's another type of flashcard called active recall flashcards, which I will get into in just a sec. Now, only take on as many new cards a day as you can handle. That keeps it fun. So that when you look at the number of reviews that you have to do that day, and you're getting each one of those reviews done each day, going through them is satisfying and rewarding and not overwhelming. And the next technique I want to share with you is shadowing, a favorite of the spikes because this gets incredible results when done right. So this is one of the hardest techniques I teach, but one of the most rewarding. So you listen to native Chinese audio and you repeat it exactly as you hear it, as close as you can. Most people find it strange and difficult at first, but even after a few hours of doing this, you will hear yourself speaking Chinese with native-like pronunciation, or at least more and more close to that. That moment of, whoa, I sound Chinese is pure satisfaction. That's real fun. So one of our coaching clients, Edward, struggled with Chinese for literally 20 years. He couldn't learn it at all, struggled a lot. And then the other day in the community, he said that he had his first major breakthrough, and it was because of shadowing. He was able to shadow at native speed. So another fun technique that you can try is active recall, what I mentioned earlier. And this really is one of the most spiky techniques of all. All types should do this, spikes, Johnnies, Timmies. But because it is the hardest one, those who are more like a spike, who are determined to win and crush Chinese, will find it the most satisfying, the most fun. Because as well as being the most difficult, you also get the biggest bang for your buck with this activity. The most rewards, the most progress pound for pound compared to any other technique that I've tried. So active recall is where you turn your flashcard reviews into speaking practice and rapidly activate your passive vocabulary. So you take a flashcard with the direct English translation on the front and the Chinese sentence plus the audio on the back. This should be done with the same set of sentences, ideally, that you are using to do your listening and shadowing practice. Example sentences for the most common 5 to 10,000 words are the best source for all of these activities. Now, active recall is hard, but trust me, as you get better at this, your brain will release a lot of feel-good chemicals and you feel very proud of yourself as you start to make real progress with speaking. And the next creating technique is language islands. This is again for all times because it will get you speaking super fast. But I think Timmies will love this more than anyone. So language islands are small groups of, say, 3 to 10 sentences on a topic of something that you would definitely like to talk about in Chinese in conversation. Topics like introducing yourself, food or shopping, restaurants, stories about your life, talking about your friends, family, talking about your hobbies, talking about your work, your opinions on Chinese culture, or how Chinese culture compares to your own country's culture. First, you'll start by writing or dictating or recording yourself talking about all these different topics. For example, let's say you're an absolute coffee lover. Here's something that you might want to create as a language island about coffee. I'm obsessed with coffee. I drink at least 3 cups every morning. My favorite is Ethiopian single origin coffee because it has fruity notes. I grind my beans fresh and use a pour over method. So you could say that out loud, get AI speech to text to create this for you as text, then use AI to break this into simple, concise sentences. So for example, I drink 3 cups of coffee every morning. My favorite coffee is Ethiopian Arabica. I grind fresh beans. I prefer to use the pour-over method to make my coffee. Finally, you turn hundreds, if not thousands of these language island sentences and audio flashcards. Practice with the flashcards, again, English front, Chinese back, and also create audio files using text-to-speech. Again, another AI thing we can use. What you end up with are custom language learning materials that are going to take you from being completely unable to speak or sucking at speaking to being able to confidently speak, a little bit at least, on a wide variety of topics very quickly. So why are language islands so darn effective? Well, speaking Chinese can feel like you're in this raging ocean and it tires you out a lot, especially if you're not high level yet. And especially if you're talking on a topic that you're not particularly familiar with. And it's a negative experience often for you and your speaking partner. On the other hand, if you memorize these groups of sentences on super common topics that you're definitely going to talk about, this gives you these little islands of confidence that you can land on while speaking, take a little rest before diving back into the ocean again. So if you're more of a Timmy or a Tammy and you're the kind of person that's going to be more averse to doing rather repetitive yet highly effective techniques like shadowing or flashcards that I mentioned earlier, you should definitely use Language Islands because it's going to make those activities far more fun for you. And the next major fun creating technique is immersion. So this traditionally involves watching Chinese TV shows or listening to podcasts or your favorite books or comics translated into Chinese. This can be super fun and motivating, especially for Timmies and Tammies. But, and this is important, I believe you should only do this once you're ready, and it shouldn't be a strong focus until you're more advanced. Maybe got a few thousand words under your belt. So if you're a beginner trying to watch native content, you'll understand maybe 5%, which can be frustrating, and it's kind of like a waste of your time as well. But once you know 1,000 or even 2,000 characters and the most common few thousand words in the language, you can follow along with subtitles at least. And once you're at that level, start incorporating more and more native Chinese content like podcasts, TV shows, movies on topics that you are interested in into your listening time. And I would highly recommend using tools that can help you with sentence mining so you can extract sentences from stuff you're watching on YouTube or Netflix in the language. Super effective, very rewarding, very fun, and it really makes immersion into a targeted game with a purpose as opposed to just mindlessly, passively letting the language wash over you, hoping it will make you fluent, which it probably won't, not with any efficiency. And make sure you use the mnemonic association technique I taught you earlier to learn any new words that pop up in your immersion as well. And the final takeaway to make Chinese fun that I want to share with you is speaking with natives. This can really be the most rewarding experience of all because having real, meaningful communication in Chinese is what we're ultimately doing this for. There's no better benchmark or better way of enjoying the rewards of all your hard work. There's really nothing quite like hearing a native speaker compliment you on your Chinese, saying something like, "Wow, 你会说中文啊，你的中文这么好." But as a beginner, speaking with a native is not particularly efficient early on, and it's not particularly that fun after the initial novelty wears off and you notice that you aren't really improving that much with each session. So you'll actually learn much more by just focusing most of your time on the other techniques I've shared with you in today's video. I'm not saying don't speak with natives, I'm saying do it strategically so it's more fun and rewarding. If you just dive into native speaking, doing it like every day or multiple times a week, without doing lots of practice techniques that I've just laid out for you in this video already, you'll be completely reliant on native speakers as your only chance to practice speaking. And that means that you're not going to improve much every time you do it, right? Because you aren't getting speaking practice enough of it outside of your native speaking sessions. In fact, you might even get worse and make the same mistakes every time, which will give you a negative experience associated with doing that activity. That's not fun, right? That's a negative cycle. So you don't become good at piano by booking lots and lots of recitals. You get good at piano by practicing your scales and then doing a recital and then practicing more and then doing another recital. It's the same with speaking with native speakers. The more you practice at home by yourself alone, the more you're going to see gradual improvement every time you have a native speaking conversation, which is a positive cycle. That is a very, very fun cycle for you. So treat conversations with natives as benchmarks of your progress, not your primary tool for improving speaking. Do this at the right time, and it'll be the most fun you'll ever have learning Chinese. So as a final thought for you, let me share what I've learned after over 10 years of learning Chinese. Making Chinese fun isn't about necessarily shortcuts. It's about overcoming challenges, using the language in real life, and seeing results. The techniques that work best, shadowing, active recall, memory palaces, mnemonics, they are challenging, but that challenge is an important part of what makes them fun. Think about exercise, right? Nobody goes to the gym because it's easy. They do it because it feels amazing afterwards in the short and long term. So don't avoid difficulty in your language learning process. Start to embrace the challenge strategically and start small, just a few minutes a day. That's expensive fun. That's the kind of fun that actually makes you fluent in the language. 说到怎么把口语说流利啊，如果你也想进步快一点的话，那你一定要看这个视频。我要分享一个非常关键的技巧，真的让我整个学习过程轻松了10倍。